Winnipeg's top line gets it done again. This line, I'm going to just say it. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and Gabe Vilardi, underrated player, I feel like. And now this year, you're really starting to see it. I'm just going to throw it up. Best top line in the league or one of the best?
One of the best. It's hard to argue that. Like, there's, Gensel, Point, Kucherov, the top line in Columbus when they were playing together. The difference is all the other top lines that you talk about have played way less minutes together than these guys. These guys have played over 120 more minutes than the next line that has played together that much. So what they continually do for the Winnipeg Jets speaks volumes to where this team has been and is going and the improvements that they've made. In a game like tonight where Montreal had their skating legs in the first period and it felt like they controlled the pace of the play, but then it's the first line for the Jets that scores and then continues to pour it on into the second period. Like, they took over this game, and it's something that they do consistently. It's not just exclusive to a night like tonight. So this line has gotten it done for the Jets, continues to, and they play together so much. They will be building that chemistry as the season goes on into the playoffs. And when it comes playoff time, because that's always the conversation around the Jets, right? Like, they do it in the regular season. They have to do it in the playoffs. This line has to be able to take over a series when we get into the playoffs.
As for the playoffs, I know the Montreal Canadiens are still thinking about it, but they lose 3 in a row for the first time since early November. With all the chatter about them being a playoff team, is it this part of the schedule that's kind of going to make or break their season? Because it might determine whether they're all in at the trade deadline.
Well, it could have happened already. Like, the stretch of hockey that they played after Christmas, that was grueling, and they're still in the grueling portion of their schedule, and that's going to continue as they get into the Four Nations break. But, now what comes to light when the Canadiens play other good teams is that what happens when the Jets give you their A game? Like, how do you counteract that? And, there's going to be nights where you get some scheduled wins and you catch teams by surprise. It's just not the case anymore for the Montreal Canadiens. So, they're not catching anyone by surprise. And when Winnipeg turned it on in this game, like, where were the Canadiens? And you know what? I give the Canadiens credit. Like, they didn't go away quietly. They played a better defensive game, and they've kind of changed the variance from, good to bad. Like, there's less variance when their bad games happen, and so that's given them a chance to win more. But, now they've kind of completed one hurdle as far as getting themselves in the mix. Now it's another hurdle to keep yourself in the mix and keep pace with all the other teams. And, tonight was a night where there's some significant losses if you're scoreboard and leaderboard watching, which is good for them. And they'll have another chance to get back at it on Thursday. But they now have to conquer that next hurdle and just keep pace with everyone because they've put themselves in a nice spot.
Yeah, and, it doesn't get easier schedule-wise. They're going to try to snap that losing streak against Minnesota coming up here. Back-to-back losses, you lose to the Jets, you lose to the Caps. From a front office perspective, it's so tricky with this team right now. What though? Well, okay, you tell me, what should Craig Conroy do?
Okay, so why is it tricky? You're right in the playoff hunt, and if you look at the teams that are around you, St. Louis is a little further back, and you're battling basically Vancouver, and the vibes are very different in Vancouver and Calgary. Like, Calgary's a tough out every single night. They give you good goaltending. They're solid defensively. What can't they do? They can't score that much. Right. Second fewest goals scored in the NHL, the Calgary Flames. So you could use a little bit of a scoring punch. And you have to remember, like, if you go back to November, you lost Anthony Mantha, a player you signed in the summer. You lost him for the season. Like, there's a little scoring punch there that you lost. Connor Zary hasn't been playing the last little while. So you lost some scoring punch there. Like, for Calgary, the players have worked so hard to get to this point. The coaching staff has worked so hard to get this team to this point where they're competitive on a night-to-night basis. They deserve to get a little bit of help. So, I don't look at it as, if you add something this year, you're taking away from the long term of the group. No, you're giving this group the best chance to be the best version of themselves and have a chance to make the playoffs because that's very much on the table, very realistic. Yep. And, when you get there, you're going to have great goaltending. You're going to be a strong defensive team. It would be nice to have a little more scoring in that lineup.
And to your point, of the 16 teams currently in a playoff position, Calgary has the fewest goals. So it's as if you know what you're talking about. And Dustin Wolf, very much in the Calder conversation, which is incredible to see. Frankie, thanks for this. This has been awesome.